Hello everyone, my name is Cassie Hague. I work at the OECD's Centre for Educational Research and Innovation. I'm very pleased to be here today to share some thoughts on the OECD's work on fostering creativity and how that relates to the Maths Through Stories approach that you are discussing today. So first of all, why do we work on creativity at the OECD? Well, primarily because we see it as a way to deepen subject learning. When students engage creatively with ideas, they need to extend and deepen their learning. They need to apply it to complex real-world problems, and they need to develop a really in-depth understanding of the subject knowledge that they are using as they generate those ideas. So we see it as part of creating an inclusive, future-ready education system. We consistently see that creativity and innovation are in the top 5 skills demanded by employees. So here, the Future of Jobs survey by the World Economic Forum shows that from 2018, 2022, 2025, and many other years, creativity has been consistently in the top 5. We also know from research in the area that creativity can also support well-being for students. When students are absorbed in a creative task, they enter into a sort of sense of flow. They're able to draw on their own ideas, their own interests, and make connections across the different spheres of their learning. So for those reasons, the OECD has been working on creativity for almost a decade now. We have a long-standing piece of work on how creativity can be implemented in teaching and learning. And then the PISA 2022 Innovative Domain also looked at how creativity can be measured in standardized tests. Focusing on how it can be implemented, which is my area of expertise, we have a long-standing project across primary, secondary, teacher education and higher education that features networks of schools and educators over 24 different countries developing approaches to support their students' creativity, trying those out in the classroom, monitoring them with questionnaires before and after, participating in communities of practice and professional learning, documenting the results and sharing them with the international community, all in the service of really understanding what it takes to develop creativity, in particular subjects in teaching and learning. So the starting place for that project has been a rubric that was developed by experts and teachers to really show concretely what creativity looks like in the classroom. And so we describe creativity as coming up with ideas and solutions, and we look at what it looks like under inquiring, imagining, doing, and reflecting subskills. So when students are engaged in creative inquiring, they're making connections to other concepts, either within the same discipline or from other disciplines. And we can see in the Maths Through Stories approach that you're discussing today, how that's the case when students are looking for connections between their maths knowledge and the real world problems that their characters might be facing. A creative process involves students generating and playing with unusual and daring ideas, things they might not have tried before, things that may not work, things that maybe go against the status quo. And here again, in Maths Through Stories, you can see students coming up with ideas for engaging stories, for problems, for solutions, all built around a maths problem. In a creative process, students inevitably produce or perform a meaningful output that's personally novel. It needs to be meaningful within the context, it needs to make sense within a particular context, but also feature personal novelty, which means not that it's necessarily new to the world, because students can't be expected to produce something that's completely new to the world, but it's new to them. It's personally novel in that they haven't seen the same thing done in the examples that they've seen, in the work that their peers are doing, and what we can reasonably expect that they know about. And again, in Maths Through Stories, we see students producing a personally novel story. It's meaningful in a maths context. It has appropriate mathematical content. It makes sense. It makes sense both in terms of maths and in terms of the problems that their characters might reasonably be expected to face. But it's also personally novel and different from what other students around them are doing. And done well, it involves the opportunity for students to stop and reflect on what they're doing, on what they're learning, but also what's novel about the process. So the project also built a set of design criteria working with experts and teachers to explain what a lesson that develops creativity involves. And that was designed to be used in combination with the rubric, just to give a little bit more information and detail about what it might look like. So these are the first 4 criteria, and you can see they're around students' interest and need to learn, so something that's really engaging and challenging. You don't need creativity to answer an easy question. It's really important that a lesson that seeks to develop creativity also develops clear technical knowledge, because it has to have a place within the school and the curricula, and it includes the development of a product. And you can see again that Maths Through Stories has the potential to fulfill all of those criteria if it's done well. So just by the very nature of the fact that students are looking for a way to apply their knowledge to the real world, it's engaging, it's relating to students' real life, it's challenging, it's not necessarily easy, but it's a process that they have to go through and try new things. They're developing clear maths knowledge and they're producing a story. And the final 4 design criteria are around students co-designing part of the work that they're doing in the classroom, which of course they are in the Maths Through Stories approach. They're also dealing with problems that can be looked at from different perspectives, so that students need to kind of do some perspective taking and look at the world in a new way. And again, by connecting it to a real world problem, those are kinds of problems that usually don't have one correct answer, and that the characters are going to have to try multiple different ways of finding a solution, and may even have conflict or differing opinions on the right solution. Lessons that develop creativity also leave room for the unexpected. And in this Maths Through Storytelling approach, there might be ideas that come up that are unexpected to both the teacher and the students. And that's really important for developing everyone's creativity and the ability to engage with uncertainty and the unknown. And as I said before, done well, they include space for time and time for students to reflect and give feedback. So that was just a whistle-stop tour of some of the tools that we have at the OECD that seek to support students and teachers to develop creativity, and an explanation of how Maths Through Stories can be used in that way to develop maths-specific creativity. And that's really all I wanted to say today. If you have any questions at all about our work, please do email me. My email is on the screen. And I wish you all of the best for the rest of the day, for your teaching and learning that integrates creativity, and for your interaction with the Maths Through Stories approach. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.